life lessons from Dan Gilbert. A rich man has 1,000 problems, but a sick man has one.
We have something that we call our isms, which is 20 statements that kind of drive our decision-making, our prioritization. Better off making a decision than not making one.
Welcome back to the BOBcast. I'm your host, Bob Riney, President and CEO of Henry Ford Health, and I am thrilled to have you joining us today. The BOBcast is where Detroit's future comes into view. It is where you'll hear the big ideas, bold voices, and crucial conversations that are shaping our city, our region, and beyond. Real and unapologetically focused on creating a stronger, more vibrant future. With grit and grace, this podcast introduces you to the relentless visionaries who are driving change and tackling some of the biggest challenges we face today. Today's episode is a special one because we have not one guest, but two incredible leaders whose work has helped shape the very fabric of Detroit and extended far beyond it. I am thrilled to be joined by Dan Gilbert, founder and chairman of Rocket Companies, whose vision and investment has revitalized neighborhoods, grown businesses, and whose $375 million gift to Henry Ford Health is helping fund the Shirley Ryan Ability Lab and the Nick Gilbert Neurofibromatosis Research Institute. And Dr. Steve Kalkanis, a nationally recognized neurosurgeon and CEO of both Henry Ford Hospital and our Henry Ford Medical Group. Dan and Steve share a personal connection that has helped drive some of the most ambitious projects our city has ever seen, including our Future of Health project and Destination Grand. Today, we'll talk about what all this means for Detroit's future. So let me start off with a question for both of you. You've known each other a long time. Let us know how the relationship started and how it's shaped the work you're now doing together. Let's start with you, Dan.
Well, Steve was one of my son's surgeons, one of my son's doctors.
In his early childhood, Nick Gilbert was diagnosed with neurofibromatosis, a genetic condition that causes non-cancerous tumors to grow on the brain, spinal cord, and skin.
And he was the point person while Nick was unfortunately going through his tough times. And he was a great person to be the point person because he was not only a great doctor, but a great bedside manner and got to know the whole family. And we got to know him.
Steve, how about you?
First of all, let me just say how blown away and inspired I am to see, Dan, you walked into this BOBcast this morning, and that's just inspiring and amazing given the journey that you've had.
We've learned a friend took the Cleveland Cavaliers owner to a hospital Sunday morning because he wasn't feeling well. And according to a statement, while Gilbert was in the hospital's care, he suffered a stroke and underwent a catheter-based procedure.
I remember the very first time I met Dan. He came into my office in the Department of Neurosurgery at Henry Ford Hospital. And despite the overwhelming complexity of Nick's case, he was kind. He had a great sense of humor. He was thoughtful, but he was inquisitive. He was relentless even in asking not just the why and why nots for Nick's care, but why the state of the field of medicine couldn't be more successful. And that relentlessness spurred on not only bringing together people from all over the world to find the best possible treatment, but that spirit of let's do this really opened up innovation for the future, and it really embodied who Dan Gilbert is in every aspect of his life.
The Cleveland Cavaliers family and their fans are mourning the passing of Nick Gilbert. That's the son of Cavaliers owner Dan Gilbert. He died over the weekend at the age of 26.
Dan, you've spoken about how your son Nick's battle with neurofibromatosis has shaped your dedication to advancing research and care. How has that personal journey influenced your broader vision for Detroit's future?
I think philanthropy can be personal a lot of times in families, and with Nick and what he went through his whole life and what we fought his whole life was obviously an incentive for us to do something there. Doing it with you guys at Henry Ford couldn't be a better partner in the world to do it with. Your contribution and your vision for Detroit is second to none, certainly in the medical field and maybe overall in Detroit.
You've commented about Detroit deserves world-class healthcare and a world-class medical campus.
Well, I found out after my stroke that when I went to look for neurorehab centers to spend time to get that initial rehab going, that There wasn't a lot of choices here in Detroit or the whole region, to be honest with you. So for me, it was certainly an eye-opener, but being able to contribute and be your partner in this in the rehab center is really exciting as well.
Let me start with Steve about this new era that we're embarking upon as we build this almost what's now going to be a total of $3 billion of overall economic value from other partners that are joining in. But when you think about the future of health and Destination Grand, what's your hope for patients, for families, and for Detroiters when they step into that space for the first time?
You know, honestly, Bob, I hope they feel pride in our city, pride in the state of the art of where we are in American healthcare, embodied in the best possible innovations and advancements that we have brought here to Detroit. And Destination Grand is the largest investment in our city's history in terms of healthcare. And it says to every Detroiter, you deserve world-class care and you deserve it right here.
How about you, Dan?
Well, I actually think for you guys to make a big bet like this gives a message to other institutions in Detroit that they should also make big bets. What Ford did with the train station, with what you guys are doing, our Hudson projects, these are all big bets. And hopefully we see other large nonprofits as well as profit-making businesses making big bets.
You said something a while back that really stuck with me, and you said, it really bothers me when I talk to people that live in Detroit area and they're almost bragging that their kids live in New York or Chicago. And we need to really change that whole mentality so that they're bragging about the fact that their kids are staying home.
It's almost like a rite of passage or a badge of honor. Like, oh, my son's in New York, my son's in Chicago, my daughter's in LA. But we've got to create a city that inspires them to stay home, that has the jobs for them, that has the entertainment, that has the living quarters that they can live in inexpensively.
Couldn't agree more. Steve, you also made a statement that has really resonated with me and with many, many, and that's relative to the need for a world-class system in a world-class city. Talk to us about that.
Well, I have a personal story that ties it all together because this summer, one of my sons, who's about to start his sophomore year in college, did an internship in one of Dan's companies, Detroit Venture Partners. And he was one of those people that Dan and his team inspired to say, hey, it's not all about the East Coast. Detroit is a really big deal and it has a future. One of the things that, Dan, and I'm going to put you on the spot here, you said to this group of young, impressionable interns, life lessons from Dan Gilbert. One of the quotes I think he attributed to you was that a rich man has 1,000 problems, but a sick man has one. Your journey, your impact have tied the two together because your resources have made possible the prioritization of health. And for everything that we're building, there's a carve out of millions of dollars to help those so that your healthcare outcomes don't have to be determined by the zip code that you grew up in or where you live in. You need the people and you need the brain power and that energy in a hub where everything is reinforcing each other to move forward.
We have to re-recruit our own children to Detroit, but we also have to recruit kids who really want to move from where they grew up and want to try something different and have that try something different be Detroit.
We have 1,500 interns every summer, and they represent over 200 colleges and universities in the United States. Once they put their feet on the ground here in Detroit, they feel the energy, they love it. Detroit's hot right now. It really is.
You are involved in business and in sports. You've had to make tough calls under pressure. How did you develop your decision-making skills for high-stakes situations?
We have something that we call our isms, which is 20 statements that kind of drive our decision-making, our prioritization. It defines our culture. I try to get everybody involved and get their feedback first if it's going to be a big decision. I remember the one to come down to Detroit. We had some interesting conversations for months and months before we made that decision, or years even. And I always tell people there's 3 options with a decision. You can make a bad one and learn from it, make a good one and that's nice, or don't make one and don't learn anything and then it's not a good one. Better off making a decision than not making one.
And Steve, how about the parallels in medicine? I mean, you have to make decisions that can literally be the difference between life and death. So what parallels do you see leading a now multi-thousand team of physicians?
I think it's exactly analogous to what Dan mentioned about decision making. You know, in neurosurgery and in the brain in particular, millimeters matter, time matters. So the clarity of thought to make decisions is really based on preparation and innovation and imagining what the best outcome is and sticking to that plan. We have the world's most space-age simulators before we even touch a patient, and that has revolutionized surgery. We have basically an avatar of a human being down to their molecular makeup, to their physical shape, to their physiologic environment, pumping blood through the brain at the rate that it is actually happening in real life based on the scans, and we do the surgery on a simulator, in many cases with 3D printed models and in real time. And we make those judgments and we make those errors and adjustments so that by the time we go to the operating room, it's already pre-rehearsed and pre-planned.
Steve, I'm going to stick with you for a minute. Biggest risk you've taken in your career that taught you a lesson that you still use today?
You know, I was one of the busiest neurosurgeons at our health system. So taking a step back from that craft, that passion of mine to take on more of an administrative leadership role at the time was a risk. Now looking back, when I think about the impact, the teams that we've been able to assemble, the experiences that I've had and that I've been able to be a part of, even just in the last year with our new academic involvement and our new buildings and our new programs, it's really been a journey that I'm most grateful for. But in real time, it definitely felt like a giant leap of faith.
How about you, Dan? A risk you took that really taught you a lesson?
Coming down to Detroit, some people thought it was more risky than I did, of course. I was read the riot act by a lot of people around me on the risk. But I got to tell you, I really felt it in my gut and talked to enough people that we got so much energy and so many assets. We had over 20,000 people at the time, and that's an army. So it's not just the capital and the money that you invest, it's the people who can make such a big difference.
So let's segue to 20 years from now. Steve, I'm going to start with Destination Grand, the future of health. What headline do you hope is written about this immense undertaking?
The headline 20 years from now is Detroit becomes a global model for healthcare innovation. I hope it doesn't take 20 years to get to that headline, quite frankly. And Dan said it, it's momentum. I think I would add reminding people of our shared history. Innovation is in Detroit's DNA. Over a century ago, Henry Ford himself, our founder, innovator-in-chief, famously said something along the lines of, if I had just done what was expected, I would have given people a faster horse.
Dan, what about the city of Detroit? 20 years from now, what do you want that headline to be?
I'll even go, 5, 10 years from now. Anyone who's graduating any college of any name, we don't have to be their only choice, but Detroit's in the top 5, not just from in-state, but from out-of-state students as well.
All right, gentlemen, it's been great being with you. Final word, what do you want your personal legacy to be? Steve.
Impact. We have a moment here to really brighten the futures and make health and life better for all those who we touch.
Dan?
Well, I have 2. One is that we eliminate the disease that took my son, neurofibromatosis, that we eliminate it from the planet. Not a well-known disease. 1 out of 3,000 people get it, but that's still 2 million people in the world. Hopefully his passing can help 2 million people be healthy. Second one, of course, is Detroit, that at least people they'll look back and say, we did the right thing, we made the right decisions, we did the right thing for the community.
I think when we do cure neurofibromatosis and when Detroit emerges once again to a top 10 destination, your name, Dan Gilbert, is going to be all over both of them.
And I think Henry Ford will as well, and you.
Appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go to Gillies and celebrate. So.
There we go.
Sounds good. Bam, bam, broccoli.
You know, if you really listen to Steve and Dan, the real thing that stood out to me is the deep belief both of them have for the power of momentum. And what we're seeing in Detroit as we move higher and higher up is positive momentum. If you enjoyed this episode, please click follow so you will never miss a future episode. Share us with your friends and leave us a 5-star rating and review, which will help others find us. If you have suggestions for a topic or a guest, email us at BOBcast@hfhs.org. Remember, every action we take today is a step towards the future we're building together. Let's keep striving, keep believing, and keep moving forward. Let's use positive momentum to carry us through an era that's filled with troubling questions. Until next time, take care and keep making a difference.